This episode is sponsored by Santos Bros Plumbing. Are you in need of a dependable and effective plumber you can trust? Look no further than Santos Bros Plumbing, your trusted local plumbers in Paso Robles, California. Call them now at 805-360-4679. That's Santos Bros Plumbing. This episode is sponsored by Western Janitor Supply. They have cleaning supplies and equipment for any workplace. Call today at 805-238-2112. They provide an extensive line of chemicals, paper products, and floor equipment. Again, that's Western Janitor Supply, located in downtown Paso Robles. This episode is brought to you by the White Wave Wellness. Choose to live a healthy and fulfilling life. Wellness is more than being free from illness. It is a process of change and growth towards a mentally and physically healthy lifestyle. Reach out to Jennifer Hale to learn more about how this water can change your life. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Quick transparency, this is my fifth take on trying to make this possible. This ad before the video that you are wanting to watch right now, so I won't take up too much of your time. I just wanted to express how I made this all possible. I created the Paso Robles podcast studio for people to be able to use as an outlet, as a platform. This show became possible because I found the need to put myself in the hot seat and have those conversations with people and promote them as well. So if you guys ever find yourselves in a need to start a podcast, I'm here to consult. I'm here to produce. Feel free to reach out, easyfmedia@gmail.com, or find me on social media anywhere pretty much. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. I don't want to keep rambling on too much. Thank you guys for watching. So we're here, Paso Robles Podcast. I'm here with Anthony Reed from Paso Robles Incidents. What's the full title of the page again?
It's Paso Robles Incidents in Action.
Incidents and Actions. All right. So if you're familiar with Paso Robles, most likely you've seen him at an incident somewhere where either there's a car crash or a hiccup in the world, pretty much. Mm-hmm. But I want you to introduce yourself to the audience, like who you are a little bit more and what you do, and then we'll get into it on how you started and what made you think of this kind of business. You know,
for sure. First of all, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I've been wanting to be a part of something locally on a podcast. My name is Anthony Reed. Born and raised here in Paso Robles. I graduated high school in 2013, and the page it launched in 2017, just as an idea, right? Mm-hmm. So, kind of like came as the idea, as everybody on the coast knows. Can't think of the guy's name right now, but Solo Stringer, mm-hmm. That's what it was. And so it was an idea that I had, like I said, back in 2017, and it just kind of flourished from there. Like you mentioned, the car accidents, the vehicle fires, the house mm-hmm. fires, pretty much anything that the police respond to or the fire department respond to when I'm available. That's normally my life, and that's the way it's been for the last 8 years. Just responding to different calls for service, and just reporting. Just reporting the news. Yeah.
So is this the only thing you do, or is there like a day job and you do this on the side? Like what other jobs do you have, if you don't mind me asking?
So my background's in law enforcement. In law enforcement, there's the police department, and then there's security. Okay. And I took after the security. My father, who I take after. His background's in law enforcement. He worked in the Department of Corrections, and growing up, that's pretty much all that it was law enforcement, pretty much everything. Mm. Just life happens, and it came time for me to pick a career path. And at the time, I was like gung ho, like I'm going to be like Department of Corrections, like everything that my dad was. But then something happened with him on the job, and he was assaulted in the line of duty. And I saw that. I saw how he handled that, and that kind of changed my way of thinking in terms of like seeing what he went through, his recovery. His everything about that, and that kind of changed over time, just in growing up and all that. And so then I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to go through that, but that's kind of the way it is. And so my kind of answer to that was security. And I've worked in Twin Cities Hospital. I've worked at Sierra Vista Regional Medical Center in San Luis. I worked also at both courthouses in Paso and San Luis. Okay. Just in security work. And as of recently, within the last year, I've made a career change. And I now work in the mental health department. I work for a company in San Luis. It's called Crestwood Behavioral Health, and dealing with pretty much everything mental health and psych evaluations and things of that nature. So just doing life, just doing life.
Yeah, something. So take me back to 2017 when you started saying, "Hey, I think I want to go and see what's going on." Is that initial feeling you had, like I want to go see this and I want to share it with people, or how did you end up picking up a walkie and going, "I'm going to meet them there"?
Yeah, just kind of like I said earlier, just I took a liking to the slow stringer at the time, and I saw the work that he was doing. I saw him out in the field. I saw the way that he had that mutual respect for law enforcement, fire department, public service, just to share what's going on, because a lot of times there is like something happens, a car accident, a car's flipped over, and nobody hears anything about it. And kind of, I took that as an opportunity for Paso Robles, not for the county, not for anything outside of Paso Robles, but the idea behind it was Paso City. Yeah. And what I can do to be a positive outlook, a positive light, and just to share what the Paso Robles Police Department are doing, the Paso Robles Fire Department, and just sharing what's happening. And through that, I've developed a great relationship with the fire department, the police department as well. They know what I do. They know who I am. And more importantly, they know that I'm for them and not against them. And I think that's very important in this day and age.
Yeah. So Slow Stringer is a good example. How did you figure out a way? Like, what questions do you ask when you get on the scene? Like, walk me through from step one to step posting. Okay. Because I'm actually really curious on this.
Sure. Yeah. So the way it works for me is, as I don't know if they can see it on the camera, but I have a scanner, and actually I have 3 of them. This is one of the 3 that I have. And so I get the call, it comes over the radio, and it comes out wherever the location is. And it'll say like a traffic accident at, say, 8th and Spring, and a 2-vehicle TC traffic collision. And from that, it's up to me whether I want to go to that scene or report on that scene, because a lot of times if it's an 8th and Spring and it's just they say it's a traffic collision, they send everybody, and so everybody gets there, and then they don't really know what's happening, and then once they get on scene, they're like, okay, well, it's just the fender bender. It's not like a rollover or anything like that. It's just kind of like someone backed into somebody or something, just something minor.
But when you hear traffic collision, it's like, oh, there's somebody on the ground or something.
Yeah, it could be anything. It could be death. It could be just whatever. And starting that, I would go to everything, and I'd be at everything. I wouldn't necessarily ask any questions, but I would just go there and just kind of observe, talk to bystanders or anybody that may know any information. A lot of times I do talk to the fire department or the police department, and just they give me information, or I have to find it out for myself. And that I kind of like finding out as well, because just I like the investigation part of it, just trying to find out what happened and how it happened. And so from there, if it's a worthy of enough scene is what I call it. And worthy of enough scene is like if like there's a vehicle into a building or a structure fire, or like I mentioned earlier, the rollover traffic collisions, stuff like that. Is typically more of the content that you'll see on my page, and I don't post everything. I don't go to everything, right? So because I do have a job, I do have a life outside of this. So for me, this is just a hobby, and like I said, just from that, if it's a rollover, a fire, or some other newsworthy event, then I will post it, and from there, I try to get the best angle that I can that shows and explains the situation, because they say a picture shows 1,000 words, right? Or says 1,000 words. Yeah. So I try to get the most detailed picture that I can, and a lot of times I have gotten some pretty gruesome things in the pictures that I have to re-edit and blur out. I remember there was an accident out on the 46 East at Buena Vista. This was probably in 2019. And there was a guy who had been in an accident, and the vehicle that he was traveling in, it rolled over like 5 or 6 times, and he ultimately passed away from that. And I got a picture of that scene. I got a picture that was pretty gruesome, and so I edited it, and I just said, okay, like this is what it is. And so from that, I post it. And then from there, I just write the story, and usually it's just out there. And so it's basically just responding to different things that happen all around the city, and just showing people just what happens and what has happened.
Yeah, because I know there's a lot of incidents that happen. I'm not saying there's a lot of incidents, but the time there's a picture that somebody shared from the police department or from you or something, and then it grows like wildfire itself. Like people are interested and are curious as to what happened, what's the update. How do you ever find yourself having a hard time getting updates?
Yes. That's kind of a loaded question, kind of in a way, from what we were talking about before we went on the air. The Paso Robles Police Department, they have gone to an encrypted radio system, and all that means is just that it's not accessible to public. That's kind of like the easiest way for me to explain it. Right. And all that means is just like they can hear their own radios, they can do their own thing, and just do whatever. And in a sense, it kind of leaves the public in suspense, because we don't know the information that's happened. We don't know if it's what they call in the active field, they call it a hot call, and that means it's a call that's happening like right now at the moment. Like drop everything and get there, like to the scene now. Right. Like a robbery would be considered a hot call. A rollover traffic collision also could be a hot call. Just things that I guess up the ante just a little bit are the more hot calls, and are the calls that I respond to, and of course, when I'm available,
Right.
is when I can get there. I kind of got off on a little tangent there.
It's all good.
But if you can repeat the question.
Yeah. So I know when you've been doing this since 2017. So obviously there's been like 8 years of you just practicing this trade, right? This skill. And at some point, I always find myself, if I'm doing something long enough, there's a normalcy to it on how well it should go. Do you ever find yourself having a tough time getting an answer from a scene that you arrived? Like, what's going on? There's no bystanders. Obviously, the 46, if it's over by going to like Heritage, Nacimiento Lake or something, like it's all isolated. So not public isn't really around driving by,
Yeah. I mean, and we can talk about the jurisdictions and all that too, from the police departments and all that. But I remember the question now. So, so a lot of the information, I don't hear really anything anymore from the police department in Paso, unless it comes out on a press release, and I am on the city's press release email. That is only for news sources, and they require that you have to have the credentials to be a part of that, and also I am credentialed with a outfit that's here in Paso. I'll explain that later on. But the most I hear from the police department is on the press release, and that's only emails. And then on the scanner that I have right here, nowadays it's the fire department. And so I hear the fire calls, I hear the medical aids, I hear basically every call that they go on, but it's just not the police department.
Right.
And from that's kind of cool too, because not a lot of people know what the fire department does and the response that they have and the calls that they go on too. So it's kind of good to see it from both ends of the spectrum, because I started out only with the cops, right?
Yeah.
Only with the police. Well, I know what they do. I've reported on them for 8 years, and just them alone. And now, because the police department went encrypted, now I'm able to see the other side of that, and that's the fire department. And I think too, that's also important to just show what emergency services does on a daily basis. And talking to them, they know me. I get information also because they're on the same email as the police department in terms of different incidents that happen. And so I'm able to respond, I guess, with them and their calls. If it's a hot call, like an accident or something like that, then I'm usually able to respond. Or if I'm not on scene, then I'm able to use the emails to link it with the story. If like someone sends me a picture of the scene, then I can use that picture, give them the credit, and then I have the story from the city, and not someone just told me. Right. Like I have backup information, and I think that that is important too, because I think the city trusts me with that information,
right? And
so I think that's important too, just to have that walking in lockstep with the fire department, the police department, and just that mutual respect, I guess. And so it's good to have that. And so a lot of it comes from press releases, though. If it's anything like robberies, or I think last night there was a DUI accident on the 46 East at Golden Hill. So some dude, he crashed and then he, I guess, fled the scene on foot and was caught over there at the Eagle Energy that was over there on Golden Hill. So the cops, they went over there, they got him and linked it to the accident. And so now there's a DUI investigation. And so because he hurt somebody else, then that upgrades it obviously to a felony. And then it just goes on and up from there. But
yeah. So with these press releases that are emailed to you, is it a copy and paste situation, or are you allowed to interpret it a little bit more to like kind of make it digestible for people?
yeah, I mean, I can edit it, but I mean, I don't want to add any more information than what I'm what I'm given, and that's only because the city or the fire department or the police department is telling me or telling us as news reporters what's happened. And for me, it's not about changing the story. It's not about adding my bias if I have one or whatever the case may be. But it's just reporting what the departments are telling me. And this is what I give out. And so that's just what it is. So.
Yeah, with working with the fire department so closely, and you get to know the people there, right? You know, have you ever arrived at a scene before them? And because you can listen, but if you're close,
so we're getting a call. So this is a good example.
Yeah, you can put up the mic if you want.
Medical aid 302 Maplewood.
So they just got a call for a medical aid at 302 Maplewood Court. And so this is kind of how it goes. So like I listen to the call to get what the call type is, and then I judge it from that point whether I'm going to respond or not. And it obviously depends on if I'm available.
Yeah.
So, but just keep talking.
That's really cool. Like I mean, growing up as a kid, you always wanted to get on the ham radio. You always want to do those kind of things. So and I'm not saying there's like ultimately joy out of it, but there's an importance to it, right?
Yeah, and I don't take any joy in responding to any scene. I don't make fun of anything or anybody because I know. So this is an example of a call.
91 responding to 302 Maplewood Court. Adriel male with low blood pressure. George should be unlocked when you get there.
So that's an example of a call that I will not be responding to.
Because it's somebody else's house, right?
Because it's someone else's house.
Okay.
And they're having an issue, obviously.
Right.
So there's no need for news there.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I think a lot of people don't realize is fire department just don't do fires.
Yeah.
Right? They are paramedics too. They're lifesavers. They're easiest description is first responders, right?
Yeah.
Do you also get to get familiar with the paramedics too? Because I feel like I've seen one over by like the storage unit. They come out of a big building, but it's not at the hospital. It's like it's an ambulance that comes out. Like it's local.
Yeah. There's the San Francisco County Ambulance is the ambulance service that services the area, and they have a station for them that's over there off of North River, and that is their station. That's where they're stationed for the longest time, because Paso Fire, they have three different fire departments, but as far as the ambulance goes, the ambulance bay for Paso is over there off of North River Road, kind of right behind Viborg Sand and Gravel. So it's in that area. And so, like I said earlier, for the longest time, the paramedics were staged in the firehouse on 9th Street, on 900 Park Street. That's also where the police department is.
Yeah.
So there'd be in the fire department's, I guess, they call it in quarters. So they're in their quarters, and they just respond to wherever they're needed, and they just do their thing right along with the fire department.
Yeah, you talked about being certified or having the credentials to be able to press release. Did you ever find yourself wanting to get certified, like in first aid? Because I that question of press multi-pass. But I know for sure, like when people say like I'm first aid certified and stuff like that, they sort of make the promise that they'll step in. Is that something you wanted to take on at some point if you haven't? Because I feel like I saw you one time, you were the first one there, maybe because you were close, you know?
Yeah, I mean, for my job, I am CPR first aid. That's a requirement of the job. And so I am, but usually I'm just there to just do the new stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not there to be a
Right.
first responder, not taken away from it at all. I'm not trying to be a hero.
Yeah.
I just report the news, and that's what they're here for.
Right.
I'm just there to report what they're doing and what's happened, and just kind of staying in my lane, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So just staying in my lane, just doing my thing, getting my reports done, and just doing what I love.
Yeah. Do you find yourself building connections with other people who do something? Like, have you talked to the guy from Soul Stringer? Have you talked to anybody else? Is anybody doing it in Atascadero? What you're doing, like that? My mind goes through that. It's like, who else is doing it that you can talk to? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard recently that there's a I forget the name of the page right now, but it's for Atascadero. I think it's even called the Atascadero Stringer. I don't know who that is. It's not me. I have no idea.
Right.
But from what I've heard recently is that it's a guy in Atascadero, and he just does kind of like what I do, but in Atascadero.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't have any information on him or them. It's just kind of something that popped up.
Would you like to meet him one day? That way you can share notes and stuff.
Sure.
Like that. Yeah. So if you're listening to this, say hi.
yeah, for sure. I mean, just in that, and just a part of the conversation, there is drama too, also that happens among us as well.
Okay.
I don't know if I can get too detailed in it.
I mean, it's up to you. It's your voice that's being heard right now.
Okay.
That was one of the questions I want to ask. Is there any pushback on what you do?
Okay.
That was definitely one of the questions I wanted to ask.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can, for the sake of it, all transparency, I'm 100% across the board. I got nothing to hide. So back in, I forget when it was. It might have been even 2020. I'm going to be real careful in this. There was another news outlet here in Paso, and they had gotten kind of upset with me and my page because of this incident that happened. It involved an 18-year-old kid down over there. I think the address was 3341 Spring. But the kid, the person, he ended up getting into a bad car accident and ended up unfortunately passing away. In the car accident that was caught on video. It was caught on some random person's dash cam on their car, and I had it sent to me. I didn't request it. It was sent to me, and it was said okay to post, and I'm like, okay. So I watched it, obviously. So I look at everything before I post it, so that if there's like gruesome, if it's something that's like nasty, a child involved, or something that changes the story, then I won't post it. But for this situation that's right here, this other news source had gotten upset with me because I posted it. And I just posted what happened. And I just posted how it happened. And this other news source here, their whole thing is like factual information, right? So, but my whole thing with reporting is obviously to report the facts first. That's just getting information out. That's just basic reporting in anything. And so this news source had gotten upset because I posted the video, and then it came out that oh, well, there's no consideration and there's no facts about the video. There's nothing on it. But then I'm sitting back, I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at their responses. I'm looking at everything, and I'm like, okay, but you want the facts.
Right.
So what's more factual in an accident situation?
Yeah.
Unfortunate that the 18-year-old passed away. I get that. But what's more factual than showing the video and how it happened? Wasn't the fact that it didn't show anything gruesome. It didn't. It just showed a car plowing into 2 or 3 other cars. And it just, like I said, just so happened that the 18-year-old passed away.
Yeah.
So for some reason, this other news source, they got on their page, on their personal pages at the time, and they were like Anthony Reid, he's doing all this stuff, like it's not factual and everything. But I'm like, did you even watch the video? Did you see what happened?
So do you think they went on the offensive because you were first to post it? Like what brought that on, do you think? I
really have no idea.
Oh, have you ever had that conversation with them?
I've tried to, but they're just non-responsive.
Interesting.
And so just from that, like I said, it got personal with them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like no consideration and all this type of stuff. Like you're not a reputable news source and all this stuff." And I'm like, I'm doing the same thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
But you were on scene.
Yeah.
I was at work that day.
Yeah. And you got I think it has to do something with you got something first. I want to say that.
Whether it is or not, that's not for me to decide.
Right.
I just reported what happened.
So when you get videos, you get images, you say you get approval from the people, and you give credit to who wants to get credit. Did this person get credit for when you posted it?
They didn't want any.
They didn't want any?
They didn't want any. They, in fact,
I can see why.
Yeah.
Since what you got, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And they said, don't mention my name. And I said, okay.
Got it.
So I posted on there. I think I even posted on there that from anonymous source or something like that.
Yeah.
Just to put a name on it and just so people know and understand I didn't record this.
Right.
So take me out of it. I'm just reporting like what happened, how it happened, that type of thing. Did
you find yourself changing that tactic a little bit or that strategy a little bit? Like if somebody sends it to you, do you do a little bit more research just to kind of make sure? Or like what is there a difference now if somebody sends, let's say it happens again, would you do it differently?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. And that's because I didn't do anything wrong.
Okay.
And I will hold to that. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Even though other people were talking, I didn't say one word.
Yeah.
I grew up in the sense of a wise man once said nothing at all. And I didn't say anything. I just reported what it was, what happened.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that were talking.
Yeah, whenever I see that happen, I think it's something that's going on. They have an issue with, it's and they're projecting, right? Yeah. So one of the things I know for sure is this podcast is something of putting myself out there kind of thing, right? So if people come in and, we start talking about this, I had somebody come in, I had the general manager from the new Ava Hotel being built downtown.
Okay.
He came in and we briefly touched on parking because I know that's a big issue downtown.
Yeah.
But I think honesty is a big, when you're trying to talk to people, honesty is like the perfect way to talk. Like, don't sugarcoat it. Don't beat around the bush. So for me, when you do that, it's great. However, I still have that question and more of a, I don't know how to, I say it in Spanish all the time, el chisme, like the gossip.
Yeah, the drama.
Yeah, the drama. Like you are putting yourself out there in the spotlight. Whether you believe it or not, and I think you do. How do you find yourself ever retract, like not like stopping what you're doing, but like slowing it down and then going back in, like a busy season and slow season, just based off of what you're feeling?
Yes and no, just depending on the situation, but usually 90% no.
Okay.
90% no. The other 10% is my feelings on whatever I'm responding to.
Yeah.
So, like, for instance, a car accident happened actually last week. There was a elderly person here in town that had a medical issue, and they didn't plow into the house, but the call came out on the scanner that there was a vehicle into a house. And I'm like, all right, let's roll. So we rolled to it, right?
Yeah.
So we rolled to it, got to the scene, stayed back,
Yeah.
but I was able to gauge how close that I could get to the scene, but it ended up being somebody's house, right?
Yeah.
And so the tow trucks were there, and it was a elderly person. And the thing that stopped me and the consideration was that the person's license plate, it had a handicap placard on it. And so from there, I used my judgment. Okay, it could either have been a medical emergency. They could have had a heart attack. They could have had a stroke. They could have died, for all I know.
Yeah.
They didn't ultimately die. That was the best thing that could have come out of it. And so just consideration is, I guess, the 10% of it.
Yeah.
And if I need to post it, like if somebody died, obviously, then I'm going to share that information. But I'm not going to take a picture of the body on the ground all mangled and all this stuff. Like that's that's my limit. And that's another part of the consideration is what I'm picturing. And the words I'm expressing, the words I'm saying, obviously there's some consideration in that too, because obviously I don't want to offend anybody. Obviously don't want to put any wrong information out. And if you have any other information that you would like to add to it, then sure. Then I'll accept it. But just because I accept it doesn't mean that I'll post it.
Right.
And that's the consideration. I have to be careful in what I post, how I post, what I say, how I say it, how it's perceived. So it's a process that I go through for reporting just about anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find yourself, so timing is also another thing, I think, right? Do you ever go back and try to follow up on what you have reported?
Yeah. I send emails to one of the police commanders, Todd Renner. He's one of my people that I contact with within the police department. Also, I'm friends with some of the Paso Robles Fire Battalion chiefs and all that. So I communicate with them on a regular basis. And so if I have questions or something like that, then an email or a text or something like that will go out, and they either respond or they don't. Yeah, it's usually up to them. So
yeah, okay, yeah, that's good. You have the connections and sources to find out information, because a lot of times somebody sees something on Facebook, they're waiting for the comments or they're waiting for that second post. Is there I can't remember when the shooter was around. 2021.
That was June 11th, actually, of 2020. It was around the same time. 2020
was a crazy year.
Yeah.
Let's just make that clear. It was a really crazy year.
It was.
I remember showing up. Well, we heard about it, right? The cops, active shooter downtown. And then the next day after, it was still blocked off, but I ran the movie theater. So I went in to give them the camera memory cards to see if anything was found. Nothing. All you see is like a flash outside. That's it, because it was dark. Okay. And this person took advantage of the darkness and shot at police officers. Were you, how heavily involved were you in that time of year? Extremely,
actually, because I had an accident myself back in 2020. I was in a vehicle accident of my own. I fell asleep behind the wheel of my car back in 2020, and actually I was recovering from knee surgery at the time of this. So I was doing nothing but at home, just listening to radio stuff or to scanner stuff, and so it kind of just fell in my lap. And I was at home recovering, and I remember one morning getting on Facebook and seeing all the headlines about active shooter in Paso Robles. And I'm like, what? Like, I never heard, like, what? So then, but that carried on.
Yeah.
It carried on to the next 36 hours, which was the next, 2.5 days or something like that.
Yeah.
So from there, and I think we're going to get into it. So, but I'll stop there.
Yeah. So one of the big things is they couldn't find the guy, right? And even in my head, like I grew up in Paso, and I wanted to help, and all these things are going through my head. Like, I know exactly where to hide. That was the crazy part. And there's a lot of people out there that were telling me the same thing. Oh, did they check here? Did they check there? Did they check there? When something this big is happening, I'm sure the police are getting a lot of feedback, right? Did you find yourself getting feedback since you were also participating in the reporting of it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because I know I messaged you a couple things myself.
Yeah.
And the big one is it was after the fact that he was under the theater, but like, hey, if nobody, because I wasn't seeing anybody really say it, but he was under the theater all night while they searched.
Yeah, and I think
allegedly because they found their stuff there.
Right. Yeah, and it's so funny that you mentioned that because I heard that. I heard the officers going in that area, in the movie theater area. I heard them say like something to the effect of we're up under the movie theater, and there is property here from a possible encampment, and then there's also shell casings. So I remember hearing that, and I'm like thinking like, oh, so this is like the real deal.
Yeah.
So,
no, from what I remember, we were redoing the Park Cinemas was redoing the lobby, so they were adding plumbing to have a beer and wine bar in one corner. So they had to go into the theater themselves. So when the plumber came back that next day and he was allowed to work, he went down there and he came back up right away. He's like, yeah, there's stuff down there. And we're like, what? Yeah, there's stuff down there. So I can't remember if it was me or the owner. I think it was the owner of the theater at the time. He went and called, and it was like, it felt like out of a movie, like Rookie, like, FBI agents showed up, started taking everything in brown bags, so that way nobody can like see
the evidence.
What's going on. Yeah,
the evidence bags. Yeah,
and it was very like two SUV black SUVs like showed up. I'm like, oh my god, like this is insane.
Yeah. I mean, it's all a part of the investigation because also too, you got to remember, the police department was on the roof, like minutes after the initial shots rang out toward the station, and one of the dispatchers at the time, I believe her name is Kate McKinley. She was the dispatcher that heard the entire thing from like the first little pops outside. Okay, maybe fireworks in Paso. Fireworks are known 365 days a year around Paso. So it could have been that. But then you got to understand the timing that it happened at. It happened at like 3 a.m, if memory serves me correctly. But obviously that's cause for concern at 3 o'clock in the morning. And evidently we found out what it was, how it was, and where it was. And part of the where it was, the police, they were doing whatever they were doing at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then all of a sudden they're up on the roof, and it's a whole thing now. And so now it's like, not to make fun of it, but it's like a Grand Theft Auto type of a situation.
He got 2-3 stars and then started. And that started the whole show.
And it's the real deal. It's like no games, like there's no reset button on it. Like you're in it for real, and this is where we're at. So
one of the interesting things that I saw where as the longer it went, the more outside sources were being brought in.
Oh, totally.
I mean, you saw that like massive tank pretty much of a
Yeah.
car.
Yep.
You know, SWAT was in our lobby.
The Bearcat.
Yeah.
The big Bearcat. Yeah.
Yeah.
The armored truck. Mm-hmm.
And then like I don't know, I'm not sure if they were called SWAT, but they were very much SWAT like.
Yeah, it's-
waiting in the lobby.
Yeah, it was the San Francisco County regional SWAT team.
Okay.
That's who responded. So
Yeah. And it was just, I mean, it all felt crazy because we just started this crazy pandemic that we were in for, you know, shelter in place, and now like downtown's completely blocked off, and I mean, we made national news because of it, and just like all these things, and it's just, and then you start hearing that he's been cited at the Arco over on
Off Ramada.
And you start going like, oh man, I can only imagine that clerk's face if once that guy came in, because he the way he said, he's like, he came in, he looked like he was out of breath. He was trying to get to like Powerade or Gatorade or something, replenish whatever he, you know, because he was out running.
Yeah.
And after that, it was like just a visual manhunt from there.
Yeah, and I mean, at that time as well, as I mentioned earlier, I was recovering from knee surgery, and at the time, I had the home health people coming into Paso Robles from Santa Maria and all them. Obviously, they're hearing what's happening up further north, and they're kind of like,
should we go?
Yeah, and so that actually happened. Actually, my physical therapist, who worked for the company at the time, he got dispatched to my house or to my apartment, and he called me, and this was like day 2 of it, and he was like, "Hey, like we're hearing that like Paso's like shut down. Like I'm not coming up there," and he didn't, and I'm like, "Hey, I respect it, bro.
Yeah,
you know, hey, keep us up out of this."
Yeah, I
said, "You're good," because for them, all they know is that there's a shooter, and I could be him.
Yeah,
that's all they know, and they're not. And I support them. They're not going to take that risk.
No,
and why would you?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, after the whole incident happened, I think even almost towards the tail end of it, you start hearing who it is. You start seeing their Facebook page and the videos they've posted. And I know you mentioned something about mental health and stuff like that, right? So what went through your mind as you start hearing about this person who was obviously troubled and led him to do this, something that's very, that shouldn't have never happened if it can be helped?
Honestly, I didn't have a initial thought of it.
Okay.
I just jumped into it like, okay, like this is it.
Yeah.
Like, let's just do it, and let's just report on it.
Yeah.
And I didn't have really any thought. I just kind of was like, all right.
Okay, so yeah, so you're straight up just neutral about it. You just want to post. It's not like you're going out there and like if there's alcohol, if somebody crashes because of alcohol or under the influence or whatever, you're not going like, hey, make sure you drink responsibly. And that's not your job. Your job is to just report, and that's it.
That's all I do.
Perfect.
That is all I do. I mean, of course, yeah. I'm human. I have my own bias on things. I have my own opinion, but in this situation, for what I do, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I mean, as for myself, I don't really care about my opinion. That's just me. But just for putting a bias on it, for putting an opinion piece on it, like from myself, like my take on it, no
interest in doing that.
Nope.
Right? Okay, good.
None at all whatsoever.
I mean, that's more of your private, thoughts, and
that's for me.
Yeah, for sure.
That's for me.
Because there's plenty of times where I will have a conversation with somebody and they just police this or parking this and I always go like, okay, so what are you doing to change that? Like I'm curious. I'm honestly like asking them like, what are we doing to change the narrative other than copy and paste other people's articles and paste? Because I mean, right now you go online, something happened to Tascadero, a kid got hit and died.
Yeah.
but I guess it was reported too soon or something. And there was a lot of upset people going, you aren't telling people the current facts.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So Cal Coast News.
Cal Coast News.
Cal Coast News.
That's what it was.
Cal Coast News. Yeah. So I don't really, I'm just going to be 100% honest. I don't know a whole lot about Cal Coast News.
Yeah, neither do I.
I mean, I know who does a lot of their reporting. Mm-hmm. Should we say the name?
If you want, I'm like I said, this is a completely open, honest, and I hope people understand that like we're not doing this to like start issues.
No,
we're reporting.
Yeah,
we're reporting what we saw and are literally curious as what the hell is going on.
Right. Okay. So the main reporter is Karen Veely, and a lot of what Karen does is what she calls investigative reporting. Okay. And a lot of that is her, a lot like myself, getting information, talking to first responders, talking to whoever it is about whatever, and getting the information, the public information. And quite unfortunately, reading Cal Coast News, it seems to be a lot of opinion-based bias. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Yeah. So like you're showing up to a scene and you think you know what's going on without talking to anybody, or have talked to first responders, haven't talked to whoever is there. You just came in, you're judging on by the way something looks.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so then, unfortunately, this 11-year-old child dies a couple of weeks ago from a DUI driver in the Atascadero on El Camino Real. And it came out that there was some confusion on the vehicle that was the suspect vehicle. Yeah. It was reported at first glance at it, for lack of a better term, it was reported to be a possible Dodge Ram vehicle or truck. Yeah. And Cal Coast News reported that, and evidently it upset a whole bunch of people. Yeah. Because it came out later by a Atascadero Police Department that the vehicle was actually a 2003 Ford F-150. Two different vehicles, two different trucks.
Still a truck, but just the wrong truck.
Still a truck, but just the wrong make and model.
That's very interesting, and I think that's where the fine line, or the fine line goes, is you got to make sure you have the facts and you post that, because obviously nobody ever wants to jump on the gun and be like, oh, this, and then you have to go, oh, never mind, this is what actually happened, or this was the detail that people didn't realize. I think one of the things that that when I was reading it, if I didn't know the following facts, right, I would have just read it flat out and then read the comments. I'm like, okay, so why are people upset? It was because it happened. The facts were these statements were made, and then facts came out right after that, right?
Yeah.
So timing is very important.
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to realize that. Yeah. And I realized it 8 years ago when I started the page, because being a branch off of a first responder in my background, timing, even in that, is everything. Yeah. And so from that, knowing that, and from being a part of that for any length of time, and for the length of time that I've been involved in security work and everything else that I do, I'm learning and have learned that timing goes with just about everything in life. Yeah. Timing is everything, and that's what they say, right? So timing in a car accident, timing in a death, timing in whatever happens in life is so important. Yeah. So important. And it's so,
regardless of how fast people want that information,
regardless of how it is, because a lot of times I don't post things that happen until days, even weeks, or even months, even years later. Yeah. Just because it's of the course of the investigation. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. That's what a lot of people don't get. That's what a lot of people just, vehicle fire on 28th and Spring. Somebody died. Did you hear that from the police department? Like,
Yeah.
Because I didn't as a reporter.
Yeah.
So then there's and I think we can tap into this a little bit too, is just the reputable reporting and who you get your information from.
Right. And so how can people fact check that? How do people quality check, or is there something that, or do they just cross reference, like, they said this, so this must be true? Like, how do you educate people on being aware of that?
Are you saying like for me, like for my podcast?
For any news,
if for any news, go to the source.
Okay.
If you hear something in Paso or Atascadero, San Luis, and on down the county, if you hear something in Paso Robles that you may or may not have heard on social media,
okay,
you might want to go to that police department or whoever's in that jurisdiction. So, for instance, for Atascadero, I'm not going to go to a San Luis Police Department for something that happened in Atascadero, because they're going to tell me you need to go to Atascadero, like for that, or at any other time. So, I mean, it's just getting the information from what I call the root. Yeah. And if I message Chief Damian Nord from Paso PD over something that happened last night, let's take that DUI accident. If I want information from the police department, I will most likely go to the chief, and the chief, like he's done before, he'll send an email or he'll CC someone else that may have the information, and then from there, then they either give or they don't, just depending on if it's an open investigation, if they can release information, if it's public knowledge, because a lot of things aren't public knowledge,
right?
And that's what people don't understand. It's not, everything is not public knowledge. Yeah,
when you say that, it's not like the police department is saying we don't want to inform people.
No, it's an investigation.
It's an open investigation. I've met him a couple times, the police chief, and I've seen him talk. And
he's very good.
He's very good.
Very
That's
good
somebody else
gentleman,
I want to have on the show.
Yeah.
I got his card, and I want to call him. So, and that's one of the things where, like, I remember the first time I met him, he was doing a presentation over at Park Cinemas in front of about, I don't know, I can't remember what it was. But
I think I was there.
Yeah, and one of the things I talked to him about a little bit is, like, look, one of the things that's important to me, and I think should be important to a lot of people, is don't I'm trying, what is it? I said something along the lines of you want people to tell you everything. You never want anybody to withhold. So
don't burn your bridges.
Yeah. The smallest call to the biggest call, you want them to all go through, because that's the way you, as a police chief, will stay involved and informed. You never want to go, I'm not listening to this group because of this and this. You listen. Regardless if you agree or not, you have to listen.
And even in that, a lot of people will get the idea of, let's say, if Chief Nord started putting his opinion on things, pretty much if he starts doing that with everything, then eventually the narrative will come out with him. Oh, he's biased. Yeah. Like let's get him out of office. Like, and it just becomes another issue. But it's the ultimate thing of trust, and I think that's the most important. And at least for his job as the police chief, the head honcho, the anything else that's a high up, he's it, and he has to have that trust because he's trusted by his officers, his department, and most importantly, he's trusted by the city. Yeah, and if the city doesn't trust you, if the city council doesn't trust you, then you're pretty much out. Yeah. But with Chief Nord, I talk to him constantly, and with every contact that I've ever had with him, whether it be out in the field or on the email or some other way that we happen to get in contact with one another, it's nothing but professional. And so I have to commend him on that. So he's really good. That's somebody I do want to talk to on the podcast about, so I'll give him a call at some point.
As far as like getting the information out there, you're on Facebook for sure. Instagram.
Yep.
All the popular ones. Oh, okay, it's on there. You can go ahead and show it. Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to one of my friends, Alyssa. I can't pronounce her last name, but she does some business cards, and so I hit her up this last week, and she created my now new business cards. So she took one of my photos from my Facebook page and took a picture of the squad car, took a picture of the fire truck, and added the light bar to make the card. And she put everything on there: the Paso Incidents in Action, the follower, pretty much everything is her design. She has a page, I think it's called Passion Design or something like that. I forget the name right now, but it's on Instagram and Facebook and all that. So so here's my first card. So I'll give that over to you.
Thank you.
So
there's a lot to gain from making these connections, especially in Paso. Paso, I feel like, has such a big city vibe with small town like feel along with it. Like it's growing. So not fast, but at the same time not slow. It's like there's a steady pace, and the people in key places to help that along is great. The Paso Robles police chief, whoever's in charge of freaking planning downtown, it's brilliant with whoever that is. City. I don't know all the names and positions for everything. As I do this, I'm thinking to myself, I should really learn everybody. Yeah, because that's gonna help me.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah. No, it's just something that I like doing. For me, it's a hobby, and like I said, developing those relationships, seeing what the first responders are seeing, being on scene with them, you develop a bit of camaraderie. Yeah, and. You said something interesting earlier about that you've seen me be on scene early or like first, like on scene, like before anything or the police are there, before the fire department's there. A lot of times that it's just happenstance. And a lot of times if something happens on the east side of town, like let's say because there was an RV fire that was over on the east side of town by Virginia Peterson. Okay. And just before that, there was a vegetation fire in the riverbed. Oh. And I was down there doing some stuff like that, some reporting with all of that. And then all of a sudden, turnouts again, and it was for a vehicle fire on the east side of Paso. Yeah. And I'm like,
yeah. So I feel like I remember that. Like you were reporting it, and then next thing, like maybe an hour later or something like that, I was like, how is he everywhere?
Yep. So on that particular day, it came out that there was a vegetation fire. Actually, one of my friends, his name is Chris, he called me, and because he lives in the area where the vegetation fire was in the center of the riverbed. And he's like, hey man, like where's all this coming from? And I'm like, I don't know. So then I look on Pulse Point, and it's right there, like right by his house, like right behind Albertsons. Yeah. So I'm like, so and he goes, hey, you gonna go to that? And I'm like, yeah, I think I will. So I did, and so he goes, okay, well, pick me up and let's go. Yeah. So I'm like, okay. So I picked him up, and we went and covered the vegetation fire, and I was gonna take him back home, but we hadn't left the fire scene yet, and I was like, there's another call. Do you want to go to that? And he goes, sure. Yeah. So I'm like, all right. So we hopped in my car and we went on to that scene and covered that. But it just speaks to to how fast that calls come in.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the response time, right? So, and I talked a little bit about it earlier. The Paso Fire Department, they most recently opened up Station 3, which is in the 2900 block of Union Road.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's over there, kind of in the same area as Barney Schwartz. So it's over in that area, and so so they respond, and so they were actually one of the first ones on scene to that vehicle fire that was over there by Virginia Peterson. Why were they the first responders on scene? Why did they get called first? Do you know why?
No, I don't know why.
It was on their side of town.
Oh, yeah. You were talking about jurisdictions too.
Yeah.
I remember you mentioned that.
So they call it Station 3. So they put that over there. I said that like they just put it there.
Yeah.
They stationed it there. I'll say it like that. So they stationed it there because they realized that there's growing calls on the east side of town, on the 46th East. You got the highway, you got the airport, you got Jardine, you got Vina Robles. So there's stuff out there beyond the 46th, and you got Cal Fire too. Yeah. But a lot of the stuff that happens is in Paso's. You talk about jurisdiction. A lot of that fire stuff that happens pretty much, I would say, where Station 3 is, like west is all Paso between Station 1 through Station 2, and where Station 2 is on Creston Road. I believe it's on Santa Isabel, along Creston Road, and then, like I said at the beginning of this, Station 1 is at 900 Park Street, and so those are the three different stations, and all three of them, they respond to one call if it's a hot call. Yeah. Just kind of like what I was explaining earlier. It really just depends on where the call is, the severity of the call, the jurisdiction. All three of the fire stations will respond to every call. If one's busy, then they'll call on Station 2, or if Station 1's busy, they'll call on Station 3. It just depends on where the fire apparatuses are, as well. Because if you need a ladder truck, and all of a sudden there's a big structure fire at the Paso Inn, you're not going to send that big fire truck with the ladder truck over to Creston Village because there's a medical aid over there. Yeah. That isn't good for that's not good for the city. Yeah. But the Paso Fire Department, they are great. I commend each and every one of them. They're friends of mine. I support them, and so I trust them to make the best decision possible in any type of a situation. And on a personal note, when I had my accident, right, I was talking about that earlier, they, along with the police department, went to my dad's house and told them that I had been in an accident, because my accident, it was in San Luis. San Luis has Pulse Point just as well as Paso Robles does, but they must have heard my name come across the scanner or something, and
they found out.
And I didn't find out till later that they actually went to my dad's house and told him that, hey, like, Anthony's been in an accident, and just so you know, like, kind of. So, and I had been calling them obviously way before they got there, but just the respect that they have for me and for what I do is, I appreciate you guys, and they didn't have to do that. And so they didn't have to go to my dad's house and tell him like, oh, hey, Anthony's in an accident. So like they took time out of their night, because it was like 4:30 in the morning. And so they could have been in the station. Yeah, okay, Anthony Reed, he's a bad dude. Like let's not. Yeah. But no, it's. I believe it's because of the development not the development, but the respect, I guess, that I have with them and they have for me. They were like, okay, like Anthony's like one of us. Yeah. Like we need to go and support him. And so they did. And so they went and told my dad I'd been in an accident. And I know I'm kind of just rambling, but it's just I just commend the fire department beyond words. And you guys have been nothing but great towards me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it's great that you have that support.
Yeah.
When you didn't really fully realize how big of a support, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of support, I know it takes a toll financially to be driving everywhere. It takes a toll as far. I mean, you fell asleep because you were listening to the waves for a while, right? The radio waves.
Yeah.
So you were tired. But how can people support you to kind of almost guarantee that you'll keep doing this? Like, how can they support you other than following the page? You know, how else can they help you?
I really don't have anything that I necessarily need support with, like to pinpoint, but just if you want to donate financially, you're more than welcome to. I don't require that. Yeah. I don't say a whole lot, like to like reaching. I mean, I have before like the Venmos and all that type of stuff, but I'm like, I don't need financial help because this isn't what I do for my work. Yeah. It's not my mainstay. Right. That's why I have a job. That's why I do my thing. Like, I don't need any support, but if you want to, sure. Yeah. I don't, but it's not needed. I don't.
Yeah. No, I hear you. You're a humble guy, man.
Yeah. I try to be, man.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Before we end the show, do you want to tell people where they can reach you at? We'll call it an episode.
Yeah. Once again, my name is Anthony Reed. I've been in Paso for next month in April. It'll be 30 years. I'm turning 30 this year, so I just love to do whatever I need to do, and I don't even know what to say. I'm getting kind of choked up here, but
reach out to him. Paso Robles on Facebook, Instagram, and X. It's Paso Robles Incidents in Action.
Yeah. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and even if you want to reach out to me personally, my cell phone number is 805-423-1541. Day or night, call, text, anything. I pretty much respond to anybody. And if you have some information or you want me to look into something or whatever, you just want to shout out, hey, you're doing a good job or whatever, it's welcomed. And just know that I'm here for anybody that needs anything. And yeah.
Well, sweet, man. Thank you much for coming in and recording with me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the podcast. I've always wanted to be on a podcast other than myself trying to do it like I have a couple years ago, but didn't work out. That's just because I didn't need to. And so, but yeah, no, I appreciate the reach out, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man.
Yeah.